Thumbelina. There was once a woman who desperately wanted a child. She wanted one more than anything else in the world. So she went to a fairy for help. The fairy couldn't bear to see anyone unhappy. "I'll give you a magic seed," she said. "Plant it and see what happens." The woman was doubtful, but she did as the fairy said. Instantly, the seed grew into a wonderful red and gold flower, so lovely that the woman kissed it. As she did, its petals opened to reveal a beautiful tiny girl, no bigger than a thumb. "I'll call you Thumbelina," smiled the woman, and made her bed out of a walnut shell with rose petal sheets. Thumbelina lived happily with her mother until one night when a hideous toad hopped through her bedroom window. "Just the wife for my boy," croaked the toad, and stole Thumbelina as she slept. Thumbelina woke up and screamed. "Meet your husband," said the toad, gesturing to her large, lumpy son. "But I don't want to marry a toad," said Thumbelina. "Please let me go home." The toads ignored her pleas and imprisoned her on a lily pad in the middle of the river. Thumbelina began to sob so loudly. Thumbelina began to sob so loudly that all the fish in the river heard. As soon as the toads left to search for food, a school of fish swam over, nibbling through the stalk of the lily pad until it broke free. Thumbelina sailed away, floating past villages, woods, and wide green fields. A big brown beetle spotted her and dove down, grabbing her in his claws. "Look what I found," he boasted to his friends. "Ugh, she's ugly," they said. "Take her away." "Well, I don't want her if she's ugly," said the beetle, and dropped Thumbelina in a field. For tiny Thumbelina, the towering blades of grass were like a forest. She wove herself a bed out of a leaf, sucked honey from flowers, and drank dewdrops. There she stayed happily all summer long. Swallows sang and swooped around her, so she was never alone. Then winter's icy breath sent the swallows away. Thumbelina grew cold and hungry. "Would you like to share my home?" offered a kindly field mouse who had noticed Thumbelina shivering in the snow. The field mouse's home was snug and a shelter from the bitter cold outside, but it was also gloomy. Thumbelina longed for the bright sun. To cheer her up, the field mouse took Thumbelina to visit her friend the mole, a fat fellow in a black velvet suit. His house, full of rambling tunnels, was even gloomier, so dark that Thumbelina could barely see. In one of the tunnels lay a swallow, deathly still. He had fallen through a hole in the roof. "Died of cold," announced the mole. Silly bird didn't fly away in time to escape winter. Sadly, Thumbelina pressed her cheek against his feathery breast, remembering his sweet summer song. She thought she heard something. Yes, a faint heartbeat. "He's not dead. He's just frozen," she realized. That night, she crept back to the swallow and covered him with a blanket of woven grass. Slowly, the swallow opened his eyes. "I'll keep you warm and take care of you," Thumbelina promised. Every evening after that, Thumbelina brought him water and seeds from the field mouse's store. By springtime, the swallow was well enough to leave. "Come with me," he said, "and we can feel the sun on our backs." "I'd love to," said Thumbelina, "but I can't leave the field mouse. She was so kind to me, and I think she'd be unhappy if I left." So the swallow flew off alone, leaving Thumbelina gazing sadly after him. All through the summer, she longed to be living outside. The field mouse noticed how quiet and withdrawn Thumbelina had become. "Don't fret," she said. "I have some exciting news. Mole has decided to marry you." Thumbelina gasped. "But I don't want to marry him." The field mouse was shocked. Why not? He's rich. He has a big house. What more do you want? I don't want to spend the rest of my life underground, Thumbelina tried to explain. I miss the sun and the sky. Don't be ungrateful, snapped the field mouse. Your wedding day is tomorrow. Thumbelina snuck to the door of the field mouse's home for one last look at the sky. She heard a warbling above her, and there was the swallow. Winter is on its way, he said. I'm leaving for warmer shores. Come with me. Oh, yes, cried Thumbelina. She climbed onto his back, and off they flew, over the sea to the warm countries where the skies were pure blue, and wonderful flowers and fruit scented the air. At last they reached a palace surrounded by flowers where the swallow had a nest. He set her down by a large white flower. To Thumbelina's astonishment, out stepped a tiny man with a gold crown and butterfly wings. Every blossom had a similar fairy, but this one was the king. He's so handsome, she whispered to the swallow, while the fairy thought Thumbelina was the loveliest girl he'd ever seen. Will you be my bride? He asked, and she answered with a shy smile, Oh, yes. At their wedding, the fairies gave her a pair of wings so she could join her husband flying from flower to flower. High in his nest, the swallow sang his sweetest song. The end.